All right, so breaking news, you can still see bottom of your screen running at the moment. Cape Town traffic officials attending to various incidents of public violence. It's in the city's N2 area this morning, specifically on the highway. Western Cape taxi strike entering its second week. It's not been a good start to the Monday. A lot of concern around safety for commuters, especially those relying primarily on taxis. In fact, there was a taxi blockade in Delft and a bus torched, we understand, at Borchards Quarry. That was at the road exit for Borchards Quarry Road exit. Ayesha Ismail, as I come down to you, I'm seeing photos emerging on social media of taxi drivers arrested at Borchards Quarry Road as well. So it looks like police have moved in there very, very quickly. But what are you hearing at the moment? Because, of course, there's even travel alerts being issued to UK nationals this morning. What are you hearing since the last time we spoke?
The roads are certainly not looking good here in the city of Cape Town. We're hearing about road closures. We're also hearing about acts of violence. Earlier this morning, we got confirmation from Golden Arrow that 3 of its buses had been torched. People are also being pulled out of their cars and being prevented from going to work. And of course, the taxi strike has had a serious impact, not only on the economy of the Western Cape, but also on people's lives and livelihoods. Children are unable to go to school. It's also having an impact on our healthcare services. But I'm now joined by Rob Quintus, who is the MACO member for the City of Cape Town's Urban Mobility, also commonly known as Transport. Rob, you've been negotiating with the taxi organizations for a long time now. Where did things go so horribly wrong?
Ayesha, 2 weeks ago, the SANTACO umbrella mother body withdrew formally from our bi-weekly engagements that we've been having over several months with them. And that withdrawal, for me, already indicated that there would be potential conflict on the horizon. That manifested the following week, where we saw the station deck, which is right here behind us, being blockaded. We were communicating directly with various persons there to try and restore calm. The grievances which have been on the agenda, so to speak, by SANTACO for quite a period of time, have largely been around impoundment and enforcement of reckless driving, driving without permits or licenses, and other material concerns that we as a city are not negotiable on in terms of commuter and other road user safety. So the impoundments have largely been the reason behind the violence that we are experiencing here in the city currently, and some licensing issues as well, which are not any issues that can be resolved in one meeting. They require, if there was an appetite for it, a potential change in legislation, either at a national or provincial level. So there is no quick fix to that. It is disingenuous to put those demands on government that such leniencies can be made available in the law. There is no bending of the law in the city of Cape Town.
It would appear as if negotiations have broken down completely. We saw Golden Arrow going to the Western Cape High Court yesterday to seek an urgent interdict. They were granted an interdict. Now, the City of Cape Town did not go and get an interdict. Why did you not do that?
So the City of Cape Town is part of that interdict. We were in the court yesterday with Golden Arrow. We had legal representation there. We, as government, are engaging, and many of the terms of the interdict have already been expressed formally to the industry. In terms of the complete breakdown of negotiations, we resumed negotiations with SANTACO on Friday last week. We had a 6-hour meeting, in fact, 3 hours with the National Minister for Transport, Cindy Chikunga, and then a 3-hour meeting with SANTACO leadership, which was hosted by the provincial government. Certain proposals were tabled at that meeting, which would see a release of some pressure on the taxi industry in terms of minor traffic infringements. The industry then confirmed that they would take that back to their structures on Saturday, and then come back to government, being city and province. We saw some violence escalating on Saturday evening as well, The one caveat that the city had in terms of potentially tabling the proposals formally was that there needed to be an extended period of calm within the metro and a sense of normalcy within the city of Cape Town. By Sunday late afternoon, there had been a period from Sunday morning where there had been no major incidents reported, and we were willing then to meet with the industry at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We were in that meeting with them for about 3 hours, 2 hours, and then they withdrew from the meeting due to searches of their vehicles that were parked outside the Ministry for Mobility in the province. They'd arrived with bodyguards who were carrying AK-47s, wearing balaclavas and sunglasses, and of course with the eye of South African Police Services and Safety and Security in the city being on the CBD due to the Netball World Cup, that of course raised some serious alarm bells. As a result, there were searches of the vehicles that were parked outside. The industry then left the meeting, outraged at the fact that their vehicles had been searched, and we then communicated with them in writing immediately afterwards. Myself and the Minister for Mobility in the province stayed until about 8 o'clock with our staff, formalising a letter confirming the various commitments that were still on the table. However, a request for peace and the request for the industry to resume operations today. As we can see, that has certainly not been the case on either front. The strike continues, and there is certainly no peace or law and order in particular areas of the city. Unfortunately, there have been some fatalities, but there have also been arrests made this morning of some of the members of the taxi industry, as well as impoundments, a multitude of impoundments of vehicles off the streets, because the city and province particularly are now in a stage of zero tolerance.
But at the end of the day, it's the working class, it's ordinary people that are suffering. The children are not able to go to school. We're seeing that some of the hospitals have been affected. There has to be a solution soon. What is going to, what's going to happen today in terms of finding a lasting solution?
So, Ayesha, as I mentioned earlier, we have tabled what we are able to see as quick wins on the enforcement of vehicles for major transgressions only. So that would provide a large amount of relief for the industry. It was tabled on Friday and again committed to yesterday. The provincial government is likewise reviewing certain legislation around impoundments and around what are seen as permanent transgressions or permit infringements, but that is a process. It is disingenuous, as I said, for the industry to demand that those processes running in terms of legislation be resolved in 24 hours. However, there was a commitment to cease on the impoundment of minor infringements with immediate effect. That has been rejected by the industry, and thankfully Golden Arrow bus services are still operational in almost all routes, despite the burning of vehicles this morning. And my city is also operating in most of our routes, with the exception of the N2 Express and Omarumba Century.
Thank you so much for your time, and that was Rob Quintus from the City of Cape Town, the MACO member for Urban Mobility. And we've also just heard that the Premier of the Western Cape, Alan Winde, will be calling an urgent cabinet meeting this morning to deal with the ongoing taxi violence.